ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. Good morning after an incredible Sunday of football. Thanks for tuning in to Straight Shooting Sports Talk with myself, Dujane Bland. And wow, what a Sunday, right? We're going to talk about the Cowboys today. We're going to talk about who takes the Rookie of the Year. And we're going to break down Monday night matchup. But first, we're going to get into some things around
the NFL.
And the NFL was hot yesterday. Lots of close games on all facets. Had the Washington-Minnesota game, which was closer than it really needed to be. You had the Kansas City Chiefs and the Carolina Panthers. That was a close game, and we kind of talked about that in this Kansas City team, how they go about their business. One of the toughest divisions, and I believe the toughest division in the NFL, with the Raiders in that group. You got the San Diego Chargers and the Denver Broncos in that group, and of course, bye week for the Raiders. But Kansas City goes about it in a methodical way. They lunch pail guys, bring the lunch pails to work, grind it out, and they got the win. Close one, 2017, but they got the win in Carolina to pull in to a tie, which they are now on top of the division due to tiebreakers, because their division record is better at 2-0. And then you have the Denver Broncos, who won yesterday. I mean, if you're a Saints fan, you have to be sick to your stomach, and you probably got, the nervous doo-doos today, just like you had after the game, with that blocked extra point. I mean, a blocked extra point. Who would have ever thought that? I mean, we've seen blocked extra points, but I mean, come on, like right at the end of the game where, they kick that thing and they win. I mean, the game was pretty much over, I felt, if they made that. And then he returns it to to take a 2-point lead. Terrible course of events for the Saints, but great for the Denver Broncos as they keep pacing the division. 7-3 is their record, and they have a terrible divisional record, 1-2. Not good so far. Good thing we have some games left, and the Chargers unfortunately fell short in this division with a 31-24 loss to the Miami Dolphins. Pretty awesome as well in the NFC East. Pretty awesome with the division, how it's unfolding there. Dallas Cowboys 8-1. The Redskins, we talked about, get the win. Eagles pull one out late to get the win. And we're going to see what the New York Giants do today, and we're going to talk about that later. But let's get back to the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys defense gives up 448 total yards. I believe 3 touchdowns. Okay. And we talked about this. They lost the time possession battle in the first half, and we talked about this. I mean, we talked about how this team defense is not 100% well. And granted, in the first half, they had a lot of 3-and-outs. They were unable to really move the football. You had Dak Prescott with that fumble early, which set the Pittsburgh Steelers up for points. And yet and still, this game was much like the Green Bay Packer Atlanta Falcons game in Atlanta, where it was the last person who was going to have the ball was going to decide this football game. And incredibly enough, Dak Prescott, along with his trusty sidekick, Ezekiel Elliott, and I called it. I called a Dallas win before this game started, and I called that they would win this game with little time on the clock, and I said by a field goal. I don't think anybody would have even ever thought that he would run it in, and I'm going to explain that in just a second how that happened. But they run it in for a touchdown. Game over. Game over. Now we're talking about, and we're going to get into this too after this, about this rookie race. But Dak Prescott was 14 of 17, 161 yards in the second half. Solid. They were 6 of 8 on third downs, led by Dak Prescott. He finishes the game 319 yards, 2 touchdowns. And do we start calling Ezekiel Elliott that bad man? Because Zeke, 209 total yards, 3 touchdowns on the day. That 83-yarder screen where he scampers up the sideline and turns on the Jets and walks away from people. That big man turning on the Jets, mind you. But let's get back to the reason why Dak needs to stay in. Now, I'm a little disappointed in Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones comes out and says, we're going to let this decision in this case make itself. Dak has the hot hand, and we're going to go with it. Hot hand? A hot hand is when somebody comes off the bench who you don't expect to put up points and have a great day at the quarterback position for a couple of games and keeps you afloat. That's a hot hand. Jerry, you're 8-1. Do I need to talk about Dak's stats here? Because they're by far a hot hand type of stat. 14 touchdowns, 2 interceptions that's far by hot hand. Let's not leave out the leadership that he has shown. I mean, did you see his face on the sideline after Pittsburgh scored? It was like it was like Robert Griffin III in 2012. Like, all right, let's go. And that's exactly what they did. No panic. Making a smart decision. I thought the biggest play in that game, though, was when he rolls out. He's under pressure. He rolls out, gets some space, tosses it up to Dez Bryant for that touchdown. Incredible play. Smart play. Kind of Russell Wilson-esque with his play. And let's keep in mind, he didn't run the ball at all yesterday. That was all from the pocket and them relying on the running game. Incredible stuff from the Cowboys. But it's all going to come down to them being able to score points, ball control, not keeping the defense out there. And we see what happens when the defense is out there against a quality and formidable opponent at the offensive position with a lot of talent. They gave up 448 yards, but it came down to just Dak Prescott and that offense, along with Ezekiel Elliott, the offensive line, gritting it out and understanding what they needed to do and getting the win. Now, let's get back to that play where Zeke scores. Now, I believe it's Jones on the defensive side or Jordan on the defensive side is supposed to cross Escobar's face. He's supposed to go in front of Escobar towards where Zeke hits the crack and shut that off. Now, that causes Zeke to bounce it out, and as you watch the play again, you'll see the corner coming off that end to crash down to pick up Zeke. Not saying he would have got Zeke. Zeke's big, but he would have probably took those legs out. Now you're talking about maybe a 2-yard run or maybe a negative play because he's going to have to bounce that thing back out. Well, he didn't get across Escobar's face enough. Escobar turns him to the left if you're looking towards their end zone. If you're looking at a Dak's vision, turns him to the left, and there's that crack. And guess what? there's nothing but, you know, daylight and pay dirt in front of Ezekiel Elliott. Nobody's going to catch him. Nobody. And that's exactly what happened, turning that thing into a touchdown and basically putting the exclamation point on their day. I'm telling you, this is going to come down to some excellent stuff. And are we actually talking about the Dallas Cowboys actually making the playoffs?
Playoffs?
Yeah. Playoffs. Exactly. Excellent stuff. But I want to see Jerry Jones either keep your mouth shut or come out and give Dak and say, hey, Dak's our guy for the rest of the season. Tony Romo will be our backup for the rest of the season. Point blank, period. Stop dancing around this whole thing and talking about letting it play out, et cetera, because what you just did is put your quarterback in another one-game audition, which he shouldn't have to, saying if he makes a mistake or looks bad next week, that Romo's back in, protecting your son. Terrible. Now, let's talk about this rookie race here. Who takes it? Who takes the rookie of the year? And this is a fan question as well. Who takes the rookie of the year? Now, 10 guys seen on the list, and a lot of these defensive guys, guys like Will Fuller on the offense, Sharp for the Tennessee Titans, they just don't measure up as far as numbers go. Some of them haven't even gotten a lot of playing time. My top 3 in honorable mention is as such. You have Ezekiel Elliott at 1, Dak Prescott at 2, Carson Wentz at 3, Jordan Howard at 4. And he's honorable mention. I don't even see. I think it's between 3 guys: Wentz, Prescott, Elliott. Now, you can look at this at various different ways here. At the running back position, let's not be fooled. It's 1A, 1B with these offensive lines. When we talk about the Oakland Raiders, Dallas Cowboys, he has one of the best offensive lines that he can run behind. And last year, this football team with McFadden averaged 4.6 yards a carry. 4.6 yards a carry. Okay. Now he's averaging 5.1. A little bit better back, a little bit quicker. So the running game wasn't that bad. Now Zeke has 1,005 through 10 with on a 198 rushing attempts. Like I said, 5.1. He's averaging 111, 7.7 per game. Only has 3 fumbles on the year, which is impressive. I thought he would have a few more fumbles the way he carried that bread, but he seems to be carrying the bread a little bit better, protecting the loaf. The guy has 9 touchdowns. He has 1 receiving touchdown, 250 receiving yards for a total of yards from the line of scrimmage of 1,255 yards total. Now we look at Dak Prescott. He has 187 completions on 280 attempts, 66.8 completion percentage. He's thrown for over 2,300 yards, 14 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, quarterback rating 82.8. He's only been sacked 13 times. Not bad. He's averaging about 12.5 yards per completion. And he's rushed the ball 31 times, 185 yards, 4 touchdowns. Now, when you look at Carson Wentz, he's 202. He's thrown the ball a little bit more at 311 attempts, 65% completion percentage, 21 is his yards, 9 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. His QBR is 54.1. I'm not really big on QBR, whatever. He's been sacked 19 times. He's only rushed the ball for 46 yards total. I'm not going to get into Jordan Howard. He's really an honorable mention in this thing. I don't think he catches either of these guys, especially with the team that he's playing on as well, not looking so good. Now, so who wins the Rookie of the Year? In my humble opinion, it comes down to two Cowboys, Dak and Zeke. Um, it could go to either one, but I'm gonna go with Dak Prescott, and I'm gonna tell you why. And show you the importance of a quarterback. Last year, again, we stated they rushed for 4.6 yards a carry last year under Darren McFadden. Um, but the quarterback position, they threw 22 interceptions last year. Turnovers kill football teams, and not being able to orchestrate quality, balanced offense to keep the ball in your offense hand and keep the opponent's offense off the field makes a difference. And we see that with this team being 8-1. I'm going to reference 2012 Robert Griffin III. His completions were 258 for 393 attempts, 65%, 0.6% completion percentage, 3,200 yards, 20 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, QBR 75.63. He was sacked 30 times. 30 times. We know Robert ran the ball a lot in 2012. That was by design. 120 rushing attempts, 8, 15, and 7 touchdowns. It's not about the rushing attempts, okay? That's just the side note. But when you compare RG3's numbers compared to Dak Prescott's numbers, Dak has been more efficient. He has done it from the pocket a lot better. And he's on pace to have less interceptions than Robert Griffin III had the entire season of 2012. And 5 interceptions is not bad. He's on pace to possibly have more touchdowns than Robert Griffin III had all of 2012. Already has a better completion percentage, better QBR. I'm going to have to say that Dak Prescott wins Rookie of the Year. And he wins Rookie of the Year because it is very important for a team to have a field general that it's not just about managing football games. It's about being able to make people around you better, being able to lead men. And his leadership this year has helped them in plenty of situations where this team could have very well collapsed. I mean, Dallas fan, don't you feel like I'll give you yesterday. Did you ever once feel that you were out of the game with 30 some seconds, 42 some seconds left? Possession is in your hands. You're down in the fourth quarter and you have to drive. Did you feel like y'all could not get it done? I know I didn't, and I'm not even a Cowboys fan. I called my shot. I said they're going to win this thing. And that, my friends, is the difference in last year's team versus this year's team. Zeke's doing an excellent job. And, hey, if he gets close to a record, then maybe we have to start considering that. But let me tell you, Prescott's play has been very impressive. He's not putting his team in any awkward positions. He's going out and executing well. And that's why I think Dak Prescott should be the Rookie of the Year. Well, to close the show out, let's talk about the Monday Night Football matchup, Bengals-Giants. This is a very evenly matched teams on both sides. We know that the Giants offensively have a very tough time running the football. They are dead last in rushing this year at averaging 68.2. That's just not going to get it done. we know that this Giants team has a hard time with their identity. They are literally in an identity crisis. And getting down into the thick of things in the season, they're going to have to figure out what it is they're going to do. And maybe it's just simply passing the football. But this is a Cincinnati team that can play defense. They're not that great in stopping the run. They're averaging 116 yards. They're giving up 116 yards, but they are giving up 23.6 points. I mean, they're 24th in total yards. They're 20th in passing yards. They're 24th in rushing yards. 18th in total points. That does not vote well for you. And they're in New York. Now, the Giants are 9th in passing yards. I mean, you kind of have to be, having Odell Beckham Jr. and being a pass-heavy offense. Giants defense has done halfway decent. They're 8th in stopping the run. They're not that great in stopping the pass. They're 11th in total points. This is so close. And it's going to come down to really who makes the most mistakes. Eli's been known to make some mistakes this year. I think with the running game, with Giovanni Bernard and those guys in Cincinnati, they have A.J. Green, and they're going to need some guys to step up. But I still think that the New York Giants can win this football game. You never can bet against Eli Manning. We have OBJ, and they have Victor Cruz. They have the young man, the rookie, coming in and really asserting himself as well. And their defense hasn't done exceptional, but they've done enough to get the job done. And them being at home is going to play a big part. I just don't believe in Andy Dalton. I don't believe in Andy Dalton at all. And again, when they played the Washington Redskins, they, in all phases of the game, lost. But it ended up being a tie because the Redskins just could not close them out like they have struggled with all season. The Giants do not struggle with closing people out when they have the opportunity. And I think Eli Manning gets that done today by closing them out and going 6-3. And this is an incredible division, guys. Incredible division. Well, we thank you so much for listening to the show. Again, if you want to get at me, you can get at me on Twitter at NotBland21. We'll talk shop. Get back to you as soon as I can, and we'll talk shop. We'll bring up what you think and what you want to talk about here on this show. If you don't do Twitter, you can hit us up at straightshootingst@gmail.com. That is the email address here. Whatever you want to talk about, we will talk about it here on the show. Again, we appreciate all those who hit me up on Facebook and throw your questions to us there. That is greatly appreciated. And thank you so much for interacting with me. And enjoy Monday Night Football, guys. It's going to be a great nightcap on a great week of football that we've had this week in Week 10. And it's only going to get better as the division races get tighter. Well, enjoy your days, guys, and enjoy Monday Night Football.
Yeah, crab cakes and football. That's what Maryland does.